Beloved, one of the greatest misconceptions in our society is that vulnerability is something to be avoided, a weakness to hide. We are taught to guard ourselves, to put up walls, and to never let others see the cracks in our armor. But in the context of love, relationships, and deep connection, vulnerability is not only necessary, it is the very foundation of true intimacy and trust. It is through vulnerability that we open the door to authentic connections. And it is through our willingness to be vulnerable that we can foster deeper, more meaningful bonds with those we care about. When we choose to embrace vulnerability, we are not choosing to be weak. Rather, we are choosing to be brave. It takes courage to let down our guard, to show up as our true selves with all our imperfections, fears, and hopes. This is not an invitation for chaos or emotional recklessness, but rather an invitation to be genuine, to share our truth, and to trust that the other person will meet us with compassion. In fact, vulnerability is what allows us to be fully seen and fully loved, even in our brokenness. It is through vulnerability that we experience the richness of emotional connection. For those who tend to avoid intimacy, vulnerability might feel like a threat. It may bring up old wounds, fears of rejection, or feelings of being overwhelmed. But beloved, vulnerability doesn't mean forcing someone to share everything about themselves at once. It means creating a space where, over time, they can feel safe enough to open up when they're ready. And it means you showing up first, being open, being real, and allowing them the grace to take their time. We have to understand that vulnerability is not about exposing our weaknesses. It's about showing our humanity. It's about offering some. When we are vulnerable, we also give the other person permission to be vulnerable. Many times, those with an avoidant attachment style are afraid of being overwhelmed by emotions or fears of getting too close to others. But when we offer vulnerability in a safe, measured way, we signal to them that it is okay to let their guard down, to trust, and to feel. Vulnerability becomes the bridge that connects two hearts, allowing them to come together in ways that would otherwise feel impossible. However, vulnerability is not without its risks. Yes, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we risk being hurt. We risk rejection, misunderstanding, or even betrayal. But here's the truth, beloved. Without vulnerability, we cannot experience the fullness of love. We cannot taste the depth of connection that comes when two people open themselves to one another. It's through the willingness to be vulnerable that we find healing, growth, and the most profound forms of intimacy. And even when it feels painful, we must remember that it's always worth it. The pain of vulnerability pales in comparison to the potential for real, lasting connection. And so when you are with someone who may be avoidant or closed off, show them through your own actions that vulnerability is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Take the first step. Be the one who dares to be open, and in time, they may follow your lead. But be patient. Understand that vulnerability is a process. It may take time for someone to feel comfortable letting their guard down, especially if they've been hurt in the past. But the key is consistency. Be consistently open, consistently real, and consistently gentle in how you share yourself. In conclusion, embracing vulnerability as a strength requires courage, patience, and a deep understanding of what it means to truly connect with another person. It means offering the other person the space to be themselves while also showing them the grace to let their guard down. True intimacy is not about perfection. It's about showing up as you are, with all your vulnerabilities, and offering that as a gift. In this space, relationships grow, trust is nurtured, and love blossoms in the most unexpected and beautiful ways. So step into vulnerability with the confidence that it is your strength, your truth, and the key to unlocking the deepest connections of all. Beloved, creating a safe emotional space is one of the most profound gifts we can offer in any relationship. It is the foundation upon which trust, connection, and intimacy can be built. Emotional safety doesn't just mean that we avoid conflict or unpleasant feelings. It means that we actively cultivate an environment where both people feel comfortable enough to be their authentic selves. It's about creating a space where vulnerability is welcomed, not judged, and where both individuals can show up unguarded without the fear of rejection or emotional harm. When we create a safe emotional space, we make it possible for the other person to open up without the constant worry of being invalidated or misunderstood. This requires a deep commitment to empathy and presence. We have to actively listen not just to the words spoken, but to the emotions beneath those words. To truly understand the heart of the other person, we must be willing to quiet our own inner noise, suspend our judgment, and be fully present to their experience. This is not always easy, especially when we feel overwhelmed by our own emotions, but it's necessary if we want to create a space of emotional safety. One of the key aspects of creating this safe space is learning how to respond with kindness and understanding, even when emotions run high. In moments of tension or disagreement, it's easy to react impulsively, to defend ourselves or dismiss the other person's feelings. But responding with kindness means taking a step back, taking a deep breath, and choosing to engage from a place of calm and compassion. It means saying, I see you, I hear you, your feelings matter to me, even when we don't fully understand or agree. When we respond this way, we send the message that it's okay to express emotions, no matter how messy or complex they may seem. In addition to this, creating a safe emotional space requires us to establish clear boundaries, both for ourselves and for the other person. Boundaries are not walls, they are the lines that define what is acceptable behavior and what is not. Healthy boundaries ensure that both individuals feel respected and valued. They prevent emotional manipulation or disrespect, and they give both partners the security they need to be vulnerable without fear of being taken advantage of. When we establish and honor boundaries, we show the other person that their well-being is important to us and that we are committed to creating an environment where they can thrive emotionally. It is also important to recognize that creating emotional safety is not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about being reliable in how we show up. When we consistently demonstrate that we are emotionally available, trustworthy, and supportive, we reinforce the sense of safety in the relationship. This means not only being present during the good times, but also being there when things are difficult or uncertain. It means holding space for the other person's pain, joy, and everything in between. Over time, this consistency builds a deep well of trust, making it easier for both individuals to be open and vulnerable with one another. Another crucial element of creating emotional safety is respecting silence. Sometimes we don't need to fill the space with words or solutions. Sometimes what is needed most is the simple act of being there. Furthermore, creating a safe emotional space means actively avoiding criticism or belittling comments. Criticism can be incredibly damaging to a person's self-esteem, and it can shut down the openness necessary for growth and connection. Instead of criticizing, we must learn to offer feedback in a loving, constructive way, focusing on the behavior, not the person, and speaking from our own experience rather than making judgments. By doing this, we allow the other person to receive feedback without feeling attacked, and we create a space where learning and growth can occur. Lastly, creating a safe emotional space means holding each other in a place of deep respect. It means honoring the other person's emotions, even if they don't make sense to us, and allowing them to feel their feelings without shame or guilt. Everyone's emotional experience is valid, and by recognizing and respecting this, we help the other person feel seen and understood. It's about saying, your feelings matter to me, and I will not dismiss them. When we create a space where emotions are validated, we open the door to deeper connection and healing. In conclusion, creating a safe emotional space requires intentional effort and a deep understanding of the importance of emotional safety in relationships. Beloved, one of the most damaging practices in relationships is playing games. These games, whether they are mind games, emotional manipulation, or the subtle dance of giving mixed signals, create barriers that prevent genuine. Games in relationships often arise when we are afraid of being too direct or too honest. We may believe that if we lay our emotions bare, we will appear too needy or desperate. So we hold back, sending mixed signals or playing coy in an attempt to protect ourselves from potential rejection. But what we fail to realize is that in doing so, we create a wall between ourselves and the other person. The game of who cares less or who will make the other person chase only leads to confusion, frustration, and distrust. In the long run, these games hurt the very connection we hope to cultivate. Authenticity, however, is the antidote to this. When we embrace authenticity, we choose to be honest and clear about our feelings, our intentions, and our needs. We understand that it is better to show up as we truly are, imperfections and all, rather than hide behind facades or try to control the narrative. Authenticity allows the other person to see us for who we really are, and in turn gives them the space to do the same. It's not about being perfect or having it all together. It's about being real and present without pretense. One of the greatest gifts authenticity offers is the ability to communicate openly and honestly. When we stop playing games, we free ourselves from the pressure of trying to guess what the other person is thinking or feeling. Instead, we can simply ask. We can share our concerns, express our desires, and clarify our intentions without fear of being judged or misunderstood. And when we do this, we open the door for the other person to do the same. The beauty of authenticity is that it creates a space for genuine dialogue where both people feel safe to express themselves without reservation. Moreover, embracing authenticity means taking responsibility for our own feelings and reactions. It means that instead of blaming the other person or trying to manipulate the situation to our advantage, we own our emotions and communicate them in a healthy way. Authenticity requires emotional maturity and understanding that our feelings are valid, but they are ours to manage and express. When we take ownership of our emotions, we are less likely to project our insecurities onto the other person or play games to get the reaction we want. Instead, we approach the relationship with a sense of openness and accountability. Another powerful aspect of authenticity is that it encourages mutual respect. When we choose to be real, we are also signaling to the other person that we respect them enough to be honest. We are not treating them as a pawn in a game, but as a partner with equal value and dignity. This mutual respect fosters trust because both people know that they are being seen and heard for who they truly are. And trust, beloved, is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship. Without it, no amount of strategy or manipulation will create a lasting connection. It's important to understand that embracing authenticity is not about being brutally honest at all times in a way that could hurt the other person. Authenticity requires compassion as much as it requires honesty. It's about choosing to be truthful in a way that is thoughtful, respectful, and kind. We can express our true feelings without being harsh or critical. For instance, instead of playing games like withholding affection to get attention, we can express our need for closeness in a way that invites dialogue and understanding. Authenticity is not about saying everything that comes to mind without filters, but rather about sharing what truly matters in a manner that nurtures connection. Lastly, when we embrace authenticity and let go of the games, we create the possibility for real intimacy. Intimacy is built on the foundation of truth and vulnerability. It is about two people coming together not to perform for each other or win each other's affection, but to experience each other as they are fully and completely. Authenticity allows us to step into a space where we can share our fears, our dreams, our failures, and our triumphs without fear of judgment. It is in this space of openness that love and connection can flourish, free from the constraints of manipulation or uncertainty. In conclusion, beloved, while games may offer a temporary sense of control or validation, they never lead to true connection. Authenticity is the path to deep, meaningful relationships, built on trust, respect, and understanding. When we stop playing games and show up as our true selves, we invite the other person to do the same. We create a space where both hearts can meet honestly, where vulnerability is not seen as a weakness, but as a strength. So let us embrace authenticity, not just as a practice, but as a way of being. In doing so, we create relationships that are not based on tactics or manipulation, but on the beautiful, imperfect truth of who we are. And in that truth, love can thrive. Beloved, one of the most profound and often overlooked aspects of relationships is the fear of intimacy. This fear is a deeply ingrained emotional response that can show up in many ways: withdrawal, defensiveness, or even an outward expression of apathy. For some, the idea of getting too close to another person feels like a threat, not an opportunity for connection. It's important to recognize that fear of intimacy is not about you as a partner, but rather about the emotional wounds and fears that someone may carry with them from past experiences. Understanding this fear and responding with patience and compassion is key to helping someone move past it and toward a healthier, more connected relationship. The fear of intimacy often stems from past trauma, neglect, or rejection. If someone has been hurt in previous relationships, whether through betrayal, abandonment, or emotional neglect, they may develop a deep-seated fear of being vulnerable again. These past experiences can create a protective barrier, one that prevents them from opening up fully, even when they genuinely desire closeness. They may push away those who try to get close, not because they don't care, but because they are terrified of being hurt once more. Recognizing this fear, rather than taking it personally, allows us to respond with empathy rather than frustration. In many cases, the fear of intimacy is rooted in the belief that being vulnerable will lead to rejection or emotional pain. This belief can be unconscious, so the person may not even realize they are pushing others away. Their actions, such as avoiding deep conversations, withdrawing when things get too close, or minimizing their emotional responses, are all symptoms of an internal struggle. They want connection but fear the emotional cost. And while their actions may seem cold or distant, it's often a defense mechanism designed to protect their heart from what they perceive as inevitable hurt. As partners or friends, we can only begin to help someone confront their fear of intimacy when we first understand it. Recognizing that their withdrawal or hesitation is not a reflection of your worth, but rather an indication of their emotional wounds, allows us to approach the situation with compassion. It's not about taking their actions personally, but about seeing them as a cry for help, a signal that they are struggling with something much deeper. It's a delicate balance, offering support without overwhelming them or pushing them into emotional spaces they are not ready to occupy. For those who struggle with this fear, the prospect of opening up emotionally feels like they are exposing themselves to danger. In their minds, vulnerability equals risk, and risk leads to pain. This is why many people who fear intimacy will often try to control the relationship in subtle ways. They may hold back their true emotions, avoid expressing their needs, or create distance in order to maintain a sense of control. In their minds, control is safety, but in reality, it's a barrier to true connection. Helping them see that emotional vulnerability does not equal harm is key to dismantling these fears. It requires offering reassurance and demonstrating that vulnerability, when met with kindness and understanding, can lead to deeper trust, not pain. It's important to be patient with someone who is afraid of intimacy. This fear doesn't dissolve overnight. It takes time, trust, and gentle encouragement to help someone feel safe enough to open up. Often the process is slow and requires consistent emotional support. Every time you show up for them in a way that is consistent, reliable, and kind, you create a small space where their defenses can begin to relax. This trust-building process is gradual, but each small step forward is a victory. And as they begin to feel more secure, they may start to share parts of themselves they've kept hidden out of fear. In this way, the relationship can evolve into something much deeper and more meaningful. One crucial aspect of recognizing their fear of intimacy is understanding that it is not a reflection of your value or the love you share. The person who is afraid of intimacy often struggles with their own internal battles that may have nothing to do with you at all. When someone withdraws or becomes distant, it's easy to internalize that as a personal rejection. But in truth, it's often their own fear and uncertainty that is driving their behavior. Recognizing this helps prevent feelings of resentment or self-doubt and allows you to approach the situation with a mindset of care and patience. Moreover, as you work to create a safe and supportive space for someone to confront their fear of intimacy, remember that the journey is not linear. There will be setbacks, moments of resistance, and times when they may retreat again into their shell. It's important not to see these moments as failures, but as part of the healing process. The fear of intimacy is not something that can be fixed in a single conversation or a few gentle gestures. It is something that requires ongoing trust, patience, and understanding. In conclusion, recognizing and understanding someone's fear of intimacy is essential for building a relationship that is both deep and lasting. When we approach this fear with compassion and care rather than judgment or frustration, we open the door to healing. We give the other person the space to process their emotions, to face their fears, and to eventually embrace the vulnerability that is necessary for true intimacy. Beloved, when we acknowledge and work through the fear of intimacy together, we don't just build a relationship based on closeness. We create a bond that is rooted in trust, understanding, and mutual respect. And in that safe space, love has room to grow, flourish, and thrive. Beloved, when it comes to building lasting, meaningful relationships, two virtues stand out as absolutely essential: patience and consistency. These qualities may not always be as glamorous or exciting as moments of instant connection or passionate exchanges, but they form the bedrock of trust, emotional safety, and genuine intimacy. In a world that often craves quick results and immediate gratification, cultivating patience and consistency in our relationships is a countercultural act that requires deep commitment, self-awareness, and faith in the process. Patience in the context of relationships is the ability to remain calm, composed, and understanding as we navigate the ebbs and flows of life with another person. It means allowing room for growth, recognizing that deep connection doesn't happen overnight. When we cultivate patience, we are practicing the art of waiting for someone to open up, waiting for trust to deepen, waiting for the natural unfolding of a relationship. It's important to remember that relationships, like gardens, require time, care, and nurturing to thrive. Just as we cannot rush the seasons or force a plant to grow faster, we cannot rush the emotional journey of a relationship. In many ways, patience is a gift we give to both ourselves and our partners. It allows us to release the pressure of having everything figured out immediately. We let go of the expectation that a relationship should be perfect or complete from the outset. Instead, we create space for mistakes, learning, and growth. By embracing patience, we acknowledge that it's okay not to have all the answers right now. We understand that the journey is just as important as the destination, and we trust that, with time, the relationship will deepen in its own unique way. Consistency, on the other hand, is the quiet, steady force that reinforces the foundation of trust in any relationship. It's not the grand gestures or dramatic moments that create lasting intimacy. It's the small, everyday actions that show up consistently. Consistency is about being reliable, dependable, and present. It's about showing up for the other person in both the good times and the challenging ones. When we are consistent, we give the other person a sense of security, knowing that they can count on us, even when things aren't perfect. Consistency builds a relationship that is grounded in reliability, a space where both individuals feel safe and supported. Together, patience and consistency form a powerful combination. When we are patient with the other person's process and consistent in our own actions, we create a rhythm of trust. We show the other person that we are not just in this relationship for the short term, but that we are committed to walking beside them through the ups and downs. This doesn't mean that everything will always be easy or that we won't face challenges along the way, but it does mean that we are willing to face those challenges together with steady hands and hearts, trusting that the relationship is worth the effort. For those who struggle with vulnerability or intimacy, the combination of patience and consistency can be especially transformative. People who are afraid of getting too close often need time and reassurance before they can let their guard down. By practicing patience, we give them the space to come to their own conclusions without pushing them too quickly into emotional territory they are not ready to explore. Consistency, on the other hand, reinforces the safety and security they need to feel comfortable opening up. It sends the message that no matter how long it takes, we will be here, steady and unwavering, offering love without condition or expectation. Patience and consistency also require a certain level of emotional maturity. It means we are not driven by impulsive desires or quick fixes, but instead are willing to invest in the long-term health of the relationship. It means we are able to weather moments of doubt, miscommunication, or even frustration without resorting to drama or emotional withdrawal. When we cultivate these qualities, we shift our perspective from immediate gratification to long-lasting fulfillment. We understand that relationships take work, effort, and time. And we are willing to put in the necessary energy because we believe in the potential for growth and connection. The power of patience and consistency cannot be underestimated when it comes to building emotional intimacy. In conclusion, beloved, cultivating patience and consistency is one of the most loving and selfless things we can do for ourselves in our relationships. Patience allows us to embrace the natural pace of emotional connection, while consistency strengthens the trust that we build. Together, they create a safe space where love can flourish, where both partners feel valued, seen, and supported. Relationships grounded in patience and consistency are not fleeting or fragile. They are enduring and resilient, capable of weathering life's storms while continuing to grow in beauty and depth. So let us embrace the quiet power of patience and the steady force of consistency, knowing that through them we are building something beautiful, lasting, and true.